Judy. Yeah.
Thanks a million for being here today. What I notice is it's obvious there's a lot of frustration across the tenants groups, the landlord groups, the homelessness advocates like Katu, and you're all describing pressure, confusion, and you can see it's across the board. And my colleague, Deputy Éireann, mentioned that there's going to be a lot of evictions, and that's what they're seeing. And then Margaret said there's a tsunami of evictions. And I'm just wondering, even what I'm seeing with my own people coming to me, they're unsure, they're fearful, they're uncertain, and they're giving notice to their tenants because of the new legislation. But they don't know what it means and how it's going to impact them. So therefore, this legislation is designed to prevent evictions, hopefully, and people can have a security of tenure. But what it's doing is it's frightening people, and they're giving notice to the tenants, and they're putting their places up for sale. Do you think, is there an argument to delay this legislation? Is there an argument to inform people exactly what it's about so that we're all operating with knowledge?
Yeah, I would say there is an opportunity for a lot of things. But the biggest problem for the landlords is that every time legislation comes in, before it's even bedded in, there's another change in legislation. So they're very, very concerned. And looking at it now from the perspective of an individual, a lot of our landlords are older and would like to keep their properties, and it makes more sense financially for them to do so and to die owning property. Otherwise, they have to pay inheritance tax, and their estate has to pay, capital acquisition tax. But where we have now is that company pensions won't be able to sell. If you've one property and a pension, you won't be able to sell it. Why would you keep it if you're going to devalue it? If you have the death of a landlord, we have to pay capital gains tax. The family has to pay. They haven't got it. They'll need to sell. It'll be devalued. So the very things that you're looking at, there's nothing there to protect the landlords in those situations. Illness of a property owner, there's nothing there for them to move out of the sector. The tenants will be protected and they won't be able to sell. So from the actual points that are being made are just causing people to move out of the sector.
So I'm just wondering, though, with the groups that are here, all of you have got you know what you're talking about, and you represent different sides of the argument, but you're all reasonable people. Is there any sort of work that you could do together as a group and all work together? So I know that's sort of asking, is it sleeping with the enemy? I don't know. But I'm just saying, is there anything that can be done? I'd like to hear different views on that.
We have actually organised 2 webinars for our members. The first one was with the Department of Housing. I think we're probably the first to do that to our members. We had over 470 members attend that. We have 1,500 members, so there was quite a substantial cohort, and that was to try and get an understanding of the legislation. We had another webinar at mid-November, and that was a lettings conference, and again, the Department of Housing spoke of that, and we were very grateful for them to speak of that, because we're trying to get that knowledge out there to our members so they can pass that on to tenants.
What I meant by that, with the organisations in this room, is it madness to consider that we could all work together and come up with a plan that represents tenants, that represents landlords, and we work on a stabilisation and confidence plan going forward, rather than being on opposite sides of an argument? Is that nonsense? I
don't think we're on opposite sides. I think everyone is here for, we all want the rental market to work correctly for both landlords and tenants. I was only talking to the CEO of Threshold there. I was like, it's probably one of the first times we're all on the same side on this. We want to see a proper functioning rental market, but it's very, very complicated. 4 tenancy types with 3 types of tenancy rules. That needs, I don't know how you would come together and fix that. That needs a total overview altogether. That's so complicated, just that in that piece alone.
Aubrey, can I ask you?
Yeah, so I do think there's broad things that we can all probably agree on. One thing that has come up often is the idea of policy certainty. And it's already been alluded to how the legislation has kind of chopped and changed, particularly since 2020, really, with the COVID-related changes. So I think everyone wants to see the legislation stable without too many changes in the future. And we do think that this legislation could possibly achieve that. It will be incredibly messy. There will be a lot of upheaval as it beds in, and will take a number of years for it to bed in. And I think there's certain aspects of the legislation that probably everyone is a bit unhappy with that probably could be tweaked and amended, and maybe additional measures put in to address any of the issues that are in it. So I don't think it's impossible.
Sorry, Senator, I might come in just on Anne-Marie's point there. I think it's absolutely pivotal going forward if both sides, if you like, are to work together. That we really,
and is that happening? That, I suppose.
Well, in order for it to happen, okay, we need people to stop being disingenuous. There's been, to my mind, an alarmingly disproportionate amount of commentary already here tonight on RPZs. It's not a central thrust of our submission on this, but it does give us a flavour of people maybe talking around broader issues and broader agendas without actually focusing on what these heads of bill propose. And in order for us to work together, we're going to have to be honest about what the legislation is saying.
Fia, do you want to say something?
Yeah, just I guess from a CATU perspective to chip in on this, there obviously are some shared concerns maybe around the role of institutional investors and corporate landlords in the housing system. We would see the emphasis on encouraging institutional investment as very problematic, given what has been observed in terms of the rent increases in that sector. Research from the central bank has demonstrated that institutional investors tend to increase rents at a disproportionate rate. So there may be some points around that we could have agreement on, but we also see that there's fundamentally opposing interests here between tenants and landlords. On the one hand, for tenants, their home is their home that they need to live in and stay in, whereas for landlords, it's a financial asset that they want to make a return from. And that is not an immediately reconcilable
But
conflict.
If you could, even if you had some areas that we could agree on and move forward and work together on, I think that would bring a little bit of certainty both to both tenants and landlords. So that was my point.
So on the theme of what you raised there, I suppose one of the things the 6-year tenancy or regards having that security, but that needs to be balanced with something else, because otherwise there's an equilibrium. So for everything that you bring in for the tenants, there has to be kind of something brought in on the other side in order to balance it. Otherwise, you have supply going down. So all of the things that that are brought in for tenants are good things. I would support most of them if it doesn't have a negative effect on the other side. And that's what I think we both need to kind of be mindful of, is the balance of equilibrium in the market.
Yeah, and there was a report done, a commission report, in 2000. And that was IPOA part of that. I think IPAV were, Threshold were all part of that. But when they did bring in, the Residential Tenancies Act was based on the findings of that report, but they didn't follow through on a lot of the findings. So they brought in, they cherry-picked it, and it was guillotined in at the time in 2004, and they didn't follow through on the tax treatment and changes in the tax. So it's something that, even though there was a group of people got together and agreed, and compromised, because there were things that were unpalatable for both sides within it, but it was something that could have been worked. They weren't brought in, and subsequently then the Act itself after was changed and is unbalanced.
Thanks very much, Senator.